Welcome back to the Maria Sanchez Show right here on KADYTV.com. We are live, and we are proud to be so. We are live Monday through Friday from 4 to 5 o'clock right here, and then as soon as we finish the program, then we put it to archives so that you can watch it at your leisure. You can fast forward to the things that you're not as interested in, and then you can replay it or you can send it, and we have links to our guests and everything. We're a compendium of information for the county. So with that in mind, we have in studio Ventura County Fire Chief Bob Roper. Bob, thank you for visiting with us.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, and good afternoon to you. Now, how long have you been Fire Chief?
For about 13 and a half years now.
And that's a pretty long time. Have you broken the record?
No, I think the record's right around 14.
Okay. So you're on your way, huh?
Yeah, it's not one of those marks I stay for, though.
So 13 and a half years, and prior to being chief, where were you?
Well, actually, I came in through the department. I started as a volunteer firefighter in the late 70s, and then I came on full-time in 1980. And then I just progressed up through the ranks, and there was an opportunity to become the fire chief. It wasn't necessarily one of those career goals I had, but opportunity meant being prepared, and that's the way it ended up.
And obviously, there aren't very many fire chiefs. I mean, you're evidence of that, right? I mean,
yeah, you know, it's like being a city manager, the CEO of a company. We have about almost 600 employees, and we have very high public expectations on what we deliver, the type of services and so forth. So it's a very challenging job, and it gets more challenging when the wind blows, when it rains, when the earth shakes. There's never a dull moment.
And well, you and I first met when I was a director with the American Red Cross, and I used to say when I would go out, and since the American Red Cross is not a government agency, you were the chair of the board of directors, and it was a wonderful harmonic convergence between the fire department, because as my understanding is when somebody calls 911, the fire department is called first, and then we're called. But, well, I'm still a volunteer, so I say with the American Red Cross. But I would tell people Ventura County has the dubious distinction of being one of the most disaster-prone counties, and people would say, well, why is that? And I would say, well, not only do we have wildfires, we have earthquakes, we have the potential for tsunamis, and we have mud. So Mother Nature usually strikes a segment of the world one way. But we here in Ventura County have an opportunity to have more than one way, and that involves you too, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. Here in Ventura County, we can never explain why we have so many presidential and gubernatorial declarations for emergencies. It just happens to be things happen here in Ventura County. But because of that experience in our training, it also allows us to be one of the more proficient emergency responders around, because we actually practice what we train for. And when we do that, we perform better.
That's a good point. So that it's not just in theory, right?
Right.
It's in application.
Yeah.
So tell us not only about being a firefighter, what does that mean in this day and age? And we're going to speak specifically about the county since that's what we're about. You mentioned that you were a volunteer. Is that an opportunity that's still available?
No, you know, what happened to our volunteer organization of the fire department is that there's began to get more and more federal mandates on training requirements and so forth. When volunteer firefighters first started across this country, it actually was a person who lived in their community and worked in their community. Now, go into any community and find out how many people actually work in the same community they reside in.
Right.
And so what's happening across the country is the number of volunteer firefighters, it's becoming more of a challenge to keep that operation afloat, because people aren't there during the day. So who's your labor force? And so over a period of time, we've evolved away from the volunteer firefighter organization to a fully paid organization where we can meet all the liabilities and the training requirements and so forth that's mandated on us by the federal government and the state to perform our job.
Now, you're the fire chief of the Ventura County Fire Department, which is different than city fire departments, correct?
Correct.
So can you give folks an idea of what that means?
Okay.
County versus city? And is there overlap, or you guys?
Well, here in Ventura County, we have an excellent relationship with all the fire departments. There's basically Oxnard, Ventura, Santa Paula, and Fillmore, and the federal fire department on the Navy base all have their own fire departments. With that, we have a great working relationship in that we actually agree to send the closest resource regardless of where the jurisdiction lines are in a city.
Really?
Yeah. So for the county fire department, and you say a city fire department, it's never us versus them. We're after the same goal because we believe the public has no idea what color fire truck or what firefighter is wearing which badge, what jurisdiction. All they want is somebody to be there during their time of need. So in Ventura County, we have, for the fire district, we're responsible for all of the unincorporated areas of Ventura County, which involves the structure protection for the homes in Lockwood Valley and so forth within the National Forest, as well as all the unincorporated areas of the county. And then we also are the fire department for the 6 cities in the county. So Ojai, Port Hueneme, Camarillo, Moore Park, Simi Valley, and Thousand Oaks, we are their fire departments. When those cities decided to become a city incorporated, most of them did, other than Ojai and Hueneme did in the early 1900s. The other cities incorporated in the 60s, and they made a conscious decision just to stay. The fire district was already there. They said, well, we'll just, instead of starting our own, we'll stay with the fire district. And so it's really worked out well for us to provide regional fire delivery of services across the county. And like I said, the public ends up with the best level of service this way. That way they don't care that even though this fire station may be closer, it's not the right jurisdiction. In Ventura County, it doesn't matter.
It's impressing me. So it's the ability to respond that's the issue, not the city-county issue.
Correct.
So, it sounds brilliant. How often is that implemented?
Oh, daily, really on a daily basis. And then we also found out within the Red Cross is recently we found that firefighters, especially dealing with earthquakes, there's not enough of us when a major disaster happens. So that's why we've been after and we've been training CERT volunteers in the community. CERT stands for Community Emergency Response Training. And these are people like yourself and anybody else in the community who wants to have that little added training on what to do if an earthquake or an emergency happens. Because there's not enough to be of us at every house as firefighters go. So we've now brought in the Red Cross, we brought in the CERT, we're bringing in the emergency amateur radio operators and so forth to try to make a much larger disaster workforce if the big quake that they keep talking about happens.
And what folks might not know, and I hope you don't mind that I'm going to take it a little step further, and it's only because of my experience with the American Red Cross, is the earthquake might not happen here in Ventura County, but if, God forbid, it does happen in Los Angeles County, those folks need a place to go. And they're going to evacuate, and where do you think they're going to go? They're either going to go north or they're going to go west or whatever. So we as a county may have the responsibility of housing them in shelters or doing triage for them or giving them supplies. And so that's where we have to be preparedness, regardless of if it's right here or if it's next door. And that's something that I don't think a lot of people consider.
Yeah, one of the major planning efforts going on in the county now, dealing with terrorism issues as well as the earthquakes, is what happens to the LA basin when you have 7 million people need to get out of the area. They can't go to the ocean. They're going to go south, they're going to go east, or they're going to go north. And for Ventura County, we are going to be heavily impacted. Our roadway and then emergency services and just plain human services to dealing with that large group of people. It's going to be a challenge.
We're visiting with Ventura County Fire Chief Bob Roper. When we come back, we're going to talk more about what it takes to become a firefighter. If anybody is watching that would like to or has said they want to, or you have a young one who thinks that they're going to enjoy that opportunity, as well as a couple of the campaigns that are coming up because fire season's beginning. If you've been outside, there's been high wind advisories, and it always feels to me like Santa Ana's in October. You're watching the Maria Sanchez Show on KADYTV.com. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Maria Sanchez Show, live Monday through Friday from 4 to 5 o'clock right here on KADYTV.com. We actually should have some champagne in studio. This is our first live broadcast. We've done many, but they have not always been live. So we're kicking it off today, and we're honored to have with us as one of our first live guests, Ventura County Fire Chief Bob Roper. Thank you again, Bob, for taking the time to be here with us.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon.
Thank you for the invite.
You're welcome. And we mentioned before the segment that we were going to speak a little bit about what are the requirements to become a firefighter for the County of Ventura.
Well, the requirements, you have to be 18, and you have to either have a high school diploma or a GED. And then what we require is, at the time of hire, you have to have a physical abilities test certificate, and you also have to be an emergency medical technician.
Oh.
And then you have to go through a whole lot of testing in the process and against some very qualified people to get a very few number of spots.
And those spots become available, I guess, based on retirement and
Yes.
injury, or?
Mainly retirements
Okay.
right now.
So somebody who has to become an EMT or emergency medical technician, that's schooling that they take upon themselves.
Right. They do that at the local community colleges, is usually the best source for that to be done.
Okay.
And it's offered quite a few times a year here in Ventura County.
Now, I've heard of students going to school and studying fire science and getting their bachelor's degree in that. Does that give you an added advantage at all?
Actually, it does. You know, it used to be when I first came on, the number of people with college degrees was fairly low. Now everybody who's coming on the job now is coming on with at least a bachelor's and some masters, and we even have some PhDs.
Really?
Yeah. The level of education has drastically increased over a period of years.
And once you get hired, then you are placed anywhere the need is, or do you get to request where you'd like to be?
Well, normally everybody is just happy to have a job. And so they'll go anywhere, any place that we put them. After they build some seniority in the system, they can put in a request.
Okay.
And so, but normally what happens is a new firefighter comes in the job, and they're usually put at the less active stations because most firefighters want to be at the real busy houses.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Huh.
Because having our job, part of the incentive of taking the job is kind of that adrenaline rush, wanting to make a difference in a person's life, so you want to be at a busy place. And so it takes you a while to work your way up through the organization to be able to get to one of the really busy houses in the county.
I love that answer, because we talk here about KADY-TV. We want to celebrate the good and the goodness in people. And so here you are talking about someone who takes a position that's dangerous, that your life is on the line, and they want to go where it's the most dangerous. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
You obviously have a certain breed of a human that's a firefighter, right?
Yeah, you know, it takes a certain breed to be, you know, either a police officer or firefighter to go into an environment that everybody else is leaving. Okay, and we actually do psychological testing. We look at our people and so forth, and you know, there's no shortage of people who really want the job, and they want the job because they want to make a difference in somebody else's life. And I can't tell you the feeling you get as a firefighter when you go on that call that you've made a difference. You know, somebody's life is better than it was before they called you. But a lot of people don't realize the real scope and the range of the calls that we go on. You know, people think that, you know, we're firefighters. But firefighters, as the number of calls that we go on, is really in percentage kind of a small portion of our job. It's a type of call that takes us the largest volume of time over a period of year, because wildfires don't go out in 10 minutes.
That's right.
But the largest percentage of calls by volume we go on are emergency medical service calls. And those are the ones now that we continue to go on, we continue to train. We've taken and enhanced our paramedic program. We work with the local ambulance companies. We dispatch them. It's all part of one team when you call 911. And so our services are primarily emergency medical service and fire, structure and wildland. But There's always the calls of my husband's fallen out of bed. I need help. It's a senior. Somebody needs that call at 2 in the morning. No one else to call. We have calls where a horse will fall off a cliff and down a ravine. The rider comes out, calls 911 and wants to seek help. We develop programs working with horse rescue groups now, which we can go in and try to even airlift a horse out if we want. So we're an agency that we kind of do everything, and we improvise along the way to whatever the public need is when they call us.
I'm glad you shared that, because I think of firefighters as that too. Because I assumed that if somebody had a health crisis, that when an ambulance sent, that somehow it's related to a hospital or a medical facility. But you're saying no?
Yeah, what happens is if somebody calls 911, let's say with a childbirth, when the call comes in, our operator will answer the phone, ask, what type of emergency are you reporting? Say it's a husband saying, my wife is having a baby. And then the dispatcher will talk to the husband while the call is being processed and being dispatched. The dispatch will actually give directions to the husband on how to deliver the baby if it's present. Same thing is if somebody's choking, the dispatcher will give actually directions on how to relieve the choking, how to start CPR and so forth. And I can't tell you the number of times that we give out special pins to our dispatchers who have saved a life by giving CPR pre-arrival instructions, or they've helped. We have little stork pins we give the dispatchers if they help deliver a baby. And all of this is done over the telephone to somebody who needs help now. They don't know who else to call. They call 911, and the system works great.
And are the dispatchers employed by the fire department?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to be a dispatcher, they would go through the fire department?
Yeah, they would just look at our website or the County of Ventura's personnel website and find out what jobs are open. And we list those all the time, and people can look at the qualifications, see what it pays and so forth, and they can apply, take the test, and then they're maintained on the list, and as openings come open, then there's vacancies.
Now, is there a senior age that isn't accepted? No? So it's
No.
all about ability.
Yeah, all we have is a minimum age by law now of 18 years old. We have no maximum age. We have no other criteria. Dispatchers are not what we call a safety member, so there's no physical abilities testing.
Right.
But you have to type so many words a minute, and you have to be able to work the computer and so forth. There's proficiency that's required.
And obviously they need to learn CPR and
Yeah.
Giving birth.
Yeah.
Having done it 4 times, I don't know that I could give anybody guidance other than, hold on!
We actually had a couple of cases where the dispatchers, our dispatch center is on the Camera Airport. The dispatchers took the call, and they realized it was in the building next door to the dispatch center. The dispatcher left and took the automatic defibrillator with them, went next door to the building and performed CPR and worked on the patient till the firefighters and ambulance got there. Service doesn't get any better than that.
That's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
And do you have, aside from the pins, do you have like a luncheon that honors heroes, if you will?
Annually in either January or February, we have our annual firefighter awards. And during that time, we recognize our employees from the different regional areas of the fire department and from the different functions like dispatchers and so forth. And then we also recognize civilians in the community or other law enforcement or other firefighters who we've gone on a call, and almost every year we recognize a law enforcement officer who may have pulled somebody out of a burning car, that type of thing, and we award them for that.
We need to know about that so that we can help promote the folks that you so designate, because we'd like to be a partner in that regard.
Yeah.
Because you fit right into our mission statement.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for the public really to see the real story behind. A lot of time at the awards we'll bring in somebody from the community whose actually life was saved, and they get to meet the responder.
Wow.
So it's a very heartfelt moment.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time
Okay.
and for everything you do. And now you know that you've got a place here that you want to get the word out or
very good.
share news that you can come to the program.
Okay.
And we have been visiting with Ventura County Fire Chief Bob Roper. And if you have any more information, We'll post all the contact information on our website. You're watching the Maria Sanchez Show on KADYTV.com. We are live. When we come back, we're going to give you a little snippet about what's next, and it was about an event that we attended on Friday night, which was the VIP party for Happy Days. We'll be right back.